Kingdom.
Live.
So on at it. What's hot?
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
And when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's my home's house. And it is good. Woo! Arrowhead man.
The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, real quick while you're here, don't forget to click or tap that like, click or tap that subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a Chiefs fan, tell them to tell some more Chiefs fans. Help spread the word. We'd sure appreciate it. Got a good show tonight. Just all kinds of breaking news going on in Chiefs Kingdom today. Teams making moves, getting deals done. Some old friends are possibly coming back here. One friend for sure is old friends coming back. We got a 16-game winning streak that's alive and well that we'll talk about, and a pretty big game this early in the season in the division for the Chiefs against the LA Chargers at Arrowhead on Sunday. We'll talk about that game, break that sucker down. Thanks to everybody who's joining us. Looks like we already got Brenda and Carol and Chris in the chat. Good to see you all. Appreciate you swinging by. Before we get into the show here, Nick, how are you doing? I'm
doing great, man. I'd like to wish you and everybody watching and listening to this a happy Sweet 16. So it sure does feel sweet to win 16 straight against the Broncos after growing up with them and having John Elway. This has been a long time coming. So yeah, I'm super happy. I know that we'll get into the game. We'll talk about maybe some of the things that are a little concerning about maybe the offense, but let's just savor the fact that the Chiefs currently are tied for the best record in the NFL. They currently have the longest win streak in the NFL. And they currently just beat one of their prime division opponents for the 16th straight time. That's 8 years worth of games, dude. It's 4 shy of the NFL record, which is the 20th or 20 games, I think, where Miami dominated the Bills there in the Dan Marino era. So I'm doing great, man. How about you?
I'm doing real well. You got your youngest daughter will be going to starting elementary school next year and never seen a Broncos win over the Chiefs. So
not once.
Not one time.
Broncos fans have never seen their team beat Patrick Mahomes.
Right. Looks like we got John C's in the house. Is that Big Bry I saw in there above him maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. We got Carol, Chris.
One man show. Everybody's in the house. Good to
Brenda.
see you all.
That's great.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, no, I'm doing real well. So let's just get into some of this news. Right out the gate, breaking news today. The Chiefs trade for wide receiver Mecole Hardman from the New York Jets. The Jet lands back in KC. An old friend is returning to Chiefs Kingdom. You know, it is funny. We put out a post. I think it was still actually called Twitter back in those days, back in the day.
Right.
It was like, all right, hear us out, because the Jets weren't using Mecole Hardman. He was getting like 1-2 snaps a game. And I put out there on the Chiefs Twitter account, I believe it's still called Twitter at that point. So hear us out. Jets get rid of Mecole Hardman and the Chiefs sign him. And it created kind of like a firestorm of people going back and forth about Mecole Hardman returning to the Chiefs. And here we are several weeks later, and they make the announcement that they have indeed brought Mecole Hardman back. Yeah, you know, Brenda, I'm pretty sure Mecole was here before Jarek, so I don't know. We got 2 Jets on the team now, so I don't know the rules.
Well, they asked McKinnon about that one time, and he said, well, McColl's more like a fighter jet, and I'm more like a private jet, you know?
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, I guess there are multiple types of Jets. I'm not sure what the rule on nicknames are. I don't know if it's whoever was there first or whoever's been here more recently. I don't know who gets to claim what nicknames, but Mecole Hardman comes back. Be interested to see how everybody in the chat feels about that move. Nick, what do you think about it?
Well, we've been talking about wide receivers, right? At first, underwhelming a little bit, because you hear about guys like Julio Jones getting signed and some of the big names we could have had, and then it's like, well, we get Mecole Hardman. But, as I was reading some of the posts and going through, really, like, that dude scored a lot of touchdowns. He's got a nose for the end zone. And what have the Chiefs really been lacking? They've been lacking red zone efficiency. So I think that this is a good move for us, man. It's somebody that will slide into the offense. It's somebody that's, familiar with the system, already has rapport with Patrick Mahomes, has big playability, and really was playing pretty well before he got injured last year, right? And then really kind of just suffered through injuries for most of the year. So I think it's a good signing. It's a good signing with Justin Watson, being injured. Don't know what's going on with him. And some of the struggles we've had with our wide receiver group. What about you?
I like it. It's low risk, high reward type situation. Yeah. So Chiefs are swapping 6th and 7th round picks. And I saw it was in 2025, so it's not even like it's next year. Obviously, the Jets wanted to get rid of him. The Chiefs are able to bring him in. He brings some dynamics to the game, to the Chiefs offense. The jet sweep was kind of his specialty, and really Chiefs have not been able to run that play all that well with Tony or Sky Moore this year. You bring up a good point with Richie James on IR and Justin Watson now with the elbow injury. I know they said that Justin Watson wasn't going to IR, which is good news. Happy to hear that about J Watt. Doesn't sound like it's as serious as maybe it looked when it happened. But with some guys in the wide receiver room banged up and some guys underperforming and underproducing, you bring a guy back that, I'll say it, he's more accomplished in his NFL career than any other wide receiver on this team right now. Maybe that's not fair to say with Rashee Rice, because Rashee Rice is a rookie. And it looks like he's tracking to maybe have a year that would maybe be a little bit better than McColl's best year. I want to say McColl's best year, he had around 600 yards and 6 or 7 touchdowns. Sky Moore didn't come close to that last year. He's struggling to get 1 catch a game. MVS career numbers. He's played, I looked it up earlier, he's played in like 20 more games, which is basically a whole season plus, and only has a few hundred more yards and less touchdowns than Mecole Hardman.
Right.
Justin Watson, he's been a solid go-to guy this year, but he has never had a season that comes close to Mecole Hardman's best seasons. Kevin brings up a good point. It kind of goes to what I'm saying right here. I mean, it is kind of sad that bringing him back is that Mecole Hardman, a guy that we didn't seem to want and couldn't get on the field with the Jets, is the most accomplished receiver in the wide receiving room right now. That's not saying he's going to be the best wide receiver on the Chiefs, but I like that jet sweep, some of the action in the run game. He's also he can return punts. He's got that aspect to his game. So, yeah, low risk, high reward. He knows the system. I'm not wild if I'm Philadelphia or expected a whole lot of Julio Jones at this point. He's much, much older. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of what team he came. Was it Tennessee that he played for last? He didn't really do a whole lot there in Tennessee. So that to me almost seems like maybe they're trying to appease A.J. Brown, who had been lobbying to get him back. But nonetheless, we decided to go the old friend route. Bo had a family thing come up here and ran over, so maybe he'll jump in. We usually see him in the comments at some point if he can't make the show, but Bo's listed as out or doubtful for tonight's episode. Some pretty cool news, though. Should we wait until Bo's here to kind of let that cat out of the bag, Nick? Or
yeah, let's wait till Bo's here.
Wait till Bo's here. So got some exciting news for Bo.
Little teaser there.
But anyway, ran a real quick poll here. And I'll tell you what, if you ever want to get social media engagements, do a post about Mecole Hardman. I don't know what it is about the guy, but anytime you post or tweet anything about him, it gets a ton of engagements. The tweet we put out several weeks ago about possibly bringing him back if the Jets weren't going to use him got over 100-something thousand views and created a really quick dialogue. And then we put this poll out today, and instantly had like 400 plus votes on it, which is a lot for the polls that we usually put out. I just kind of wanted to gauge Chiefs Kingdom's temperature and see where they're at with the move to bring McCole Hardman back. Nick's going to bring it up here. 84% in favor. So that's higher than I anticipated. Like I just mentioned a moment ago about there was a lot of people that are adamant that he was no good and the Chiefs did not bring him back and he's not going to solve our problems. And I don't necessarily think that he's going to be a problem solver with the offense. I don't expect him to come in here and look like the second coming of Tyreek Hill or anything. But the guy was able to produce when Travis and Tyreek were on the team, and now Tyreek is gone. Travis may be a little banged up. He's getting more opportunity perhaps here to be a top dog or be one of the big dogs. So interested to see how it goes. Appreciate that, John. Taylor Swift, hashtag Taylor Swift. It's a good way to probably get engagements too, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll probably get like 5,000 live viewers now because you put that in the comments thread.
Hey, I hope so. That'd be great. We'd take it. So if you want to vote in these polls, you can go over to our X account at Chiefs Kingdom Live. You can see the handle right there in the graphic. Nick, are you happy? Are you excited? Are you in favor or are you out of favor?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Excited is the right word. I'm happy with the move. It shows that the Chiefs are acknowledging what you can see on the field, and they're trying to do something to address it. And they've got a guy that, like you said, it's a low risk to the team from salary cap, standpoint that they can get a guy that they know has some big playability. I mean, if you think about it, like he had that long touchdown versus the Titans. He had that big punt return for us in the Houston Texans game when we were down 24-0 that really kind of got the offense sparked there, getting them across midfield. He had a touchdown he also had a turnover, but he had a touchdown in the AFC Championship game against the Bills, right? He had a couple of big key plays on the overtime drive in the Bills 13-second game. I mean, the guy, he has performed for us, and so he's a dude that's got a lot of experience, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the move. Bring the guy in, see what he can do. He's a guy, like I said, that's been able to have big moments and make plays for this team and this offense. So welcome back, McCole. We're looking forward to seeing you at Arrowhead against the Chargers. There's another old friend alert. It looks like Frank Clark is scheduled to be in KC tomorrow, and there's rumors and reports swirling out there that he's getting a physical after being released from the Denver Broncos. I don't know where Frank Clark fits in on this defense or this defensive line. They brought in Charles Omenihu. They've got George Karlaftis at defensive end in his second year. Mike Dana's been playing well. They got Chris Jones who can play inside, and Chris Jones takes snaps at D end. Maybe he's a depth piece. I don't know. Nick, do you think Frank Clark's back on the team?
It's hard to say. I mean, I know where I want him. I want him sacking quarterbacks in the postseason because that's what he does best. But look, if they can get him, if he can be on the practice squad, if he can be a depth guy, right? It's kind of this point where like the defense has been playing so well, you kind of don't want to mess with something that's working. Not saying that we don't want Frank Clark, but he would have a harder time fitting into the team right now than McCole Hardman, right? Because we don't really have like a weakness on the defense right now, and we're getting Omenihu back. Brenda's best friend, he quote tweeted her, so they're pals. Congrats on that, Brenda. That was cool.
Yeah, I saw that too. That's cool.
So I just think that it's not like I mean, we all love Frank Clark. We've talked about him on this show. Post AFC Championship game victories, gives the best interviews probably on the planet. And he's just like a real dude. He's always been honest, right? So I have a lot of respect for Frank Clark. It's just, where does he fit in? And people are saying practice squad, and it's like, man, you really think like Frank Clark's going to be satisfied being on the practice squad. You know what I mean?
Man,
So then it's like, who do you move out, right? Who do you know, if you bring him in and a Minihue, who are you moving out to account for that? I mean, is it like, I don't even know, right? I mean, who do you think they would pull off the roster to give him a spot?
I'd kick Clyde Edwards-Helaire off the team for Frank Clark on the defensive line. But
Well, I was thinking defense, but yeah.
I know. I'm just making a joke about our old buddy CEH there. So, yeah, I don't know. That definitely is not a position group. It's a weakness on the team. That's a strength on the team, especially with Charles Minihue coming back, which we're going to talk about here shortly. But, yeah, maybe he brings a swagger. Maybe he brings an attitude. Maybe he's a locker room guy. Chris Jones is a big Frank Clark fan. They're buddies. He's been kind of lobbying to bring him back. Looks like our man Hefe is in the house. What's up, Hefe? Good to see you again. Appreciate you swinging by. Hefe's excited about the Missouri Tigers win over the weekend, it looks like, over Kentucky, I believe. So, yeah, they're looking pretty decent this year. Disappointing loss to LSU last week, but hey, you know, that's LSU's tough team even in a down year to beat. So, yeah, I don't know. I just find it hard to believe that they're bringing Frank Clark in. If it's true he's going to be in Kansas City for a team physical, that they're not going to sign him. Why would you bring him in for a physical?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not.
You.
I just who.
You go from you go from Super Bowl champ, playoff AFC championship game hero to practice squad guy. I don't know, man.
I don't know. Maybe he's humble enough to do it, and maybe, you know, he's there sitting there in case somebody gets injured, they can bring him up, and you got a dude that understands Spags defense and has been there. I mean,
yeah. Add him to the team later.
Yeah,
possibly for a playoff stretch or a playoff run. Defensive lineman, the injuries happen, especially defensive players. So wouldn't be a bad depth piece, but Frank Clark has been circling Arrowhead. Whether or not he lands back on the team, we'll see. But if they can find room for him, I'd like to see him back. And he's obviously close with Andy Reid and let alone, other guys on the team. So to keep our eyes and ears open to see if Frank Clark does indeed join Mecole Hardman back on the team. Some other Chiefs news. Charles Omenihu, defensive lineman. He was an offseason acquisition from the San Francisco 49ers. He returns from suspension, eligible to play this week against the Chargers. He's a guy that is versatile. He played well there in the 49ers system. Was kind of log jammed behind some other guys there, Nick Bosa and others there. They've got a plethora of pass rushers in the 49ers organization. So brought him in. He's coming back to a defense that is playing lights out. I mean, I went back through and looked today. If you take out the touchdown, the pick six, which obviously the defense didn't give up against the Detroit Lions week 1. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs have more quarters on defense where they haven't allowed points than have allowed.
Wow.
Points. 24 quarters, 13 quarters where they gave up nothing, and 11 where they gave up points. And then there's only 3 quarters all season where the defense has given up more than 1 score. I mean, this defense is playing at a level surprising to me. I'll be honest. I was hopeful that they could improve. They looked good. The rookies and the young guys that were playing last year really started to kind of get better by leaps and bounds there towards the end of the season and through the playoffs into the Super Bowl. They've picked up right where they left off at the end of the year in Arizona. Last year, winning the Super Bowl. Defense is stacked, looks legit. They got playmakers at all 3 levels. Nick, Charles Omenihu, how excited are you about him coming back, and what do you think he can do on that defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, it just getting pressure, right? Taking some of the pressure off of Chris Jones. I mean, it's pick your poison with talented guys like that up and down the line. So I'm really excited to see him come in and see what we can do, get him in the rotation, right? Like you said, the defense has been good. There have been times where, quarterbacks have sat in the pocket a little bit, and we've had to rely more, I think, on pass coverage, not necessarily rushing the quarterback, and hurrying them up as much as I would like to see. Now, I mean, it's not to tract against them because they've been fantastic as a unit, right? But I mean, it's only going to get better, right? You just hope that they gel and that they work well together, and that he can get worked in and has some chemistry with the other guys in the team. So, I mean, I'm beyond excited. I mean, we've been saying this for the last 2 years since we've done this show, right? Give Mahomes a top 10 defense and then just cancel Christmas, man, because the season's over, Yeah. I mean, Mahomes, we saw last year, he doesn't need a ton. He just needs a couple of reliable receivers. He should have that. Looks like Rice may have solved some of his drop issues. I mean, we need to give it a couple of games, but he gets him and Hardman in there. We see Justin Ross come in. The defense is performing really well. Now we're bringing in Omenihu. We're 2 up on everybody in the division right now, right? At least 2 games with the chance to put a third up on the Chargers. So, I mean, we're talking about effectively the AFC West potentially being over before Halloween with the top 5 defense. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year for Chiefs fans, dude. It's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah. And usually, this is the time of year where teams are losing guys to injury.
Yeah.
And scrambling, and the Chiefs are just adding people. Oh, by the way, we got this big offseason acquisition coming back to the defensive line. I want to say the Chiefs are 3rd in the NFL in sacks so far this year, which is a little bit of a surprise, honestly, because I think back to the Lions game and some of these other games where it seems like the quarterback stood back there and had all day to throw, but they've been doing a good job. A lot of pressures too. I saw Leo Chanel is in the top 6 or 8 in pressures for linebackers this year. Chiefs have been doing a good job on that line. I like Omenihu. I like his skill set. John was asking where he lines up. He's a defensive end is his position.
Edge, right?
Yeah, edge, defensive end. So I just like an extra guy that can rotate in there and help keep guys fresh, right? I'm not as only depth in case of injury, but rushing the passer, I feel like, is probably one of the most tiresome jobs on it because you're just going 100% of the time, right? You see a lot of these guys, pass blocking is you're kind of like, I don't want to say stationary, that's not the right term to use, but you're not running and sprinting and trying to run around somebody. You're trying to stay in front of someone and block someone. Receivers on a lot of these plays you see where they'll take 2 or 3 steps off the line if the route's not going to them, or if it's a running play, they're really not running downfield, doing a lot of sprinting. When you're on that defensive line and you're rushing the quarterback, you are running and going and fighting those linemen every single play, trying to fill gaps and shut down and chase, get running backs. So I think it keeps guys fresh. Chris Jones needs a breather. You're bringing him in. Omenihu needs a breather. You're bringing in Karlaftis. Chris Jones is feeling good. He gets to take a few snaps, gets to take a break, catches wind, put him back in there, and give Karlaftis a break. So he's a valuable piece for the Chiefs. And you'd like to think a position of strength on the team just gets stronger with a guy like him coming in.
And, I mean, defense is travel, right? So what do you think? Do you think the defense is ready for a nickname?
I mean, we're a third of the way into the season, and they're, I want to say, like the number 1, number 2 scoring defense in the league. I mean, why not? Might as well get him a nickname there. If you got any suggestions in the chat, throw those in there. I'll have to think that over a little bit here to see if we can.
I was thinking the first one that came to mind for me was the Red Death. It's like the Edgar Allan Poe story.
Yeah. Just whatever you do, don't do some cheap knockoff of like the Seahawks or somebody else, right? Like the old Legion of Zoom, which is the Legion of Boom of the Seahawks, or don't come up with like the Red Curtain, trying to rip off the Steel Curtain, something like that. Don't do that. But Yeah, so defenses reinforcements are on the way, especially if you get Frank Clark. If he signs back on the team, they'd be super deep at that position. Frank Clark didn't really do a whole lot with the Broncos, but Broncos aren't doing a whole lot this season. So
yeah, the Broncos aren't doing a whole lot with anybody this season.
No, they're not. Let's get into that game. Chiefs defeat the Denver Broncos at Arrowhead on Thursday Night Football in prime time. What was the score of that game now?
It was 19-8?
19-8. That's what it was. Couldn't remember. It was 18 or 19-8. Almost a scoreagami. It only happened one time before, 100 years ago. So when Nick and I were watching the game Thursday, he was like, "Is that scoreagami?" And I said, "Man, I don't know. I don't think, but because usually a team's got to get up into the 50s or something that are real high scoring to get those. A lot of those lower numbers have been taken, but it only happened one time before." Overall thoughts, Nick? I know how you were feeling watching the game because I was sitting there next to you watching it with you, but just give us your overall thoughts and how you felt and watching the game against the Broncos last Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, get ready for some real first world fan shit. I mean, it was
right.
kind of a frustrating game to watch, right? I mean, and it sounds weird to say that in a game where you led a lot of it by 16 points and you won by double digits. It was just one of those games where the offense really struggled to get stuff going. Kudos to the Broncos defense. They stepped up and they made some plays and they limited our team. It seemed kind of, especially in the first half, like outside of Travis Kelce, we didn't really have a lot going for us. And it was just kind of scratching and clawing for every yard. So with that said, though, no matter how many times, they had to turn the ball over and, to the Broncos, the defense stepped in there. And outside of probably one of the worst roughing the passer calls you're going to see this season, in the red zone.
What do you mean? I thought the Chiefs got all the calls.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do. They get all the calls against them. And I mean, when I see all those tweets about that, I just like cries and forward progress game. Right? Like, I can't tell you how little I care and how happy I am that people are complaining about my team. But the defense held, right? I mean, only gave up one touchdown and it was kind of, due to a penalty. I mean, it was a really, really well played game on their end. I mean, Russell Wilson had less than 100 yards passing, right?
Yeah.
So, it was just you get the feeling watching that game. You're like, okay, but if this wasn't the Broncos, what would this game be like? And I think that's where, as Chiefs fans, we're used to, okay, so like, it's like, okay, the division, and it's like, okay, so where are we going to be at the 1 seed? And then it's like, all right, so if we're playing the 49ers in this situation, we're playing the Bills, we're playing, a team that has a great offense in this situation, what would we be looking like right now? But it was overall like they won by double digits. They covered the spread, right? Never trailed.
Yep.
So, it was a solid effort by everybody. It just, there was a little left wanting from the offense and the wide receiver group.
Yeah, I was just like unnecessarily nervous is kind of the way I felt during that game. The Broncos are not good, and that defense is not good. Chiefs moved the ball. That they got into the red zone. They had 5 red zone possessions. We're only able to get 1 touchdown. But look, and there's people, I pointed that fact out. I said the Chiefs just scored 1 touchdown against an all-time, not just like this year, one of the worst defenses, but all-time historically bad defense.
Yeah.
And people were, spoiled Chiefs fans, or y'all are just spoiled. And you expect them to win every game by 4 or 5 scores. No, really don't. If you go back and watch some of the predictions we've done on this show, I think we predicted the Jaguars game. I mean, I know I predicted to beat the Jags by 2 or 3 points. Predicted the Vikings game was going to be probably an 8 or a 9 or 10-point game. So the Chiefs should have scored way more points, especially when your defense is getting you the ball and getting you extra possessions against a historically bad defense. The game should not have been close. They should have won that game by, 24?
Yeah.
28 points, maybe even more. So yeah, just unnecessarily nervous. I know division games can get weird, and I know people talk about that kind of stuff, but division game or not, that defense was there to be taken advantage of, and they were there to be had. And Chiefs offense just didn't do it. Guys had nice individual performances, but ultimately they didn't get the job done in the red zone. So it was just one of those games where it was close and it should not have been close. Especially the turnovers feed into part of that. But I mean, they had 3 possessions in the first half where they started at like the 45 or 50-yard line.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, all of the stars were aligned for a beatdown of the Broncos, and the Chiefs couldn't capitalize. So wide receivers looked like they were struggling to get open. You saw, like, Sky Moore had one of his one-catch games. MVS had no catches and a penalty that had wiped out a big play by Jarrett McKinnon. So Justin Watson had a drop on a deep ball. He's been kind of Mr. Reliable this year. That's kind of Patrick's go-to guy. So errors kind of shot themselves in the foot. But, I expected the game to go different than it did. But in the end, the Chiefs win. They go up 16. They run the winning streak to 16 against the division rival, which is just – I'm loving it. Our man John C's got to be loving it. Living out there in Broncos country, just being able to rub that in, that's got to be sweet. Guys played well. Travis Kelce, he was coming off of the ankle injury, short week that he suffered against the Vikings on the non-contact play where he kind of rolled it over. He comes out and he has 4 or 5 catches, 100 yards in the first half. Travis Kelce, Nick, what did you see out of him?
He's just a phenom. I mean, you have 100 yards in the first half at 34 years old. And, you don't have like another established number 1 wide receiver on your team. Everybody knows that the Chiefs are going to go to you with the ball. And you still do that? And I mean, you're like hook and ladder plays. I mean, showing off for your girlfriend who's there. You just can't say enough about the guy. I saw a stat that got put out, I think it was by the Chiefs official Twitter account, that Travis Kelce now has the most yards after catch by a tight end in NFL history. So, I mean, that's an amazing mark, right? That was the big thing. It's like, well, yeah, Gronk versus Kelce, but Gronk's yards after the catch, right? It's like, well, I mean, Travis Kelce has the most out of anybody that's ever played the position. Think about how many more catches Tony Gonzalez has than Travis Kelce.
Right.
And to have that stat. So yeah, he was phenomenal. I mean, coming off a short week with a hurt ankle to put up that performance and just slice and dice. Dude, it's got to be so maddening to be a Broncos fan. I mean, you just see the tweets. Kevin Wildes, he was like, one of these days, these defensive coordinators are going to take me up on the idea of covering Travis Kelce in a football game. Just, what are you doing? That's the guy. Just stay on that guy. It seems like he always shakes the coverage and he always finds a soft spot and he always is open.
It's not that they don't try. They just can't.
I know.
I mean, the guy's unguardable. He's uncoverable. I mean, it's like Allen Iverson back in his prime, or Michael Jordan. I mean, okay. Let's make sure we defend Michael Jordan. Well, good luck. Lots of people tried. Most of them failed. Travis Kelce has just absolutely owned the Denver Broncos in his career. I want to say he has like the most 100-yard receiving games against an opponent. It was like them and then the Raiders. And I can't remember if it was NFL history or I can't remember the caveat that they had on that stat. But the guy's a Bronco killer, and he did it once again. Quiet in the second half, but the Chiefs were running the ball and they had a lead and they were playing a little bit different. So it's really good to see Travis shake off that
100-yard games against another opponent.
Something like that, single opponent. Yeah. So he crushed it. Good guy to be able to come out and perform like that on 3 days rest is just absolutely I don't know. I'm not gonna say unthinkable because you kind of expect it out of Travis Kelce, but it's kind of what separates him from the rest too, right? That's
Legendary, right? I mean, he's like a legendary NFL player at this point in his career.
Right. Another big performer in the game was Isaiah Pacheco. He had about 100 yards from scrimmage. He was kind of getting bottled up there for a little bit, but making some nice runs. He's really added receiving to his game this year. He's on pace right now between rushing and receiving. He's on pace for like 1,400 yards and 9 or 10 touchdowns. You'll take that out of your number one running back all day long. Pop had himself a nice game. Nick, Isaiah Pacheco, you think he just has a stranglehold on that number one spot? Do you think maybe you see some of these courtesy touches for Clyde Edwards-Helaire start to dry up a little bit and they ride him more as the season goes on?
Yeah, maybe. I think that some of it's load management, and I think that what you'll probably see as the season gets on is more of a role for McKinnon in the offense. He's a good back out there to throw the ball to in the flat. So I think that they are really kind of trying to keep him fresh because he's an older dude now, right? I think he's like 31, which for a running back is super old. Most of those guys really don't make it much past 30 in that position. So, I think that you'll see that like Clyde take more of a back seat, but you'll probably see a lot of those carries go over to McKinnon, at least some of those plays in the passing plays. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely the strongest back that we have. It looks like he's even getting a little more patient out there, right? He seemed like he was just trying to run full speed, right at the line, and now you've seen a couple plays where he's kind of stopped and been patient, and so it was kind of crazy hearing people compare him to Marshawn Lynch, right? I mean, just a punishing back, a guy that really just runs hard. So it's really great to see him develop. He seems like a really good kid. The franchise episode with him was fantastic, and he just seems like a good guy, right? I mean, somebody that's easy to root for and really just seems to want to take advantage of every opportunity he gets on the football field. So,
right. Yeah, he's getting a little more patient, like you mentioned, and he's added catching passes as a receiver. He's definitely something you can tell he worked on, and the offseason has kind of added that to his arsenal. It's a damn good pickup for a 7th round pick. So, and the way he runs reminds you of beast mode, but he doesn't look like beast mode. I mean, he's not big and bulky.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised when I saw the
right?
comparison because he doesn't really look like him.
Yeah, physically he's not built as big or as bulky. I don't know what Marshawn Lynch would have been weighing in at his prime there, but he's like a littler but just as tough, and the guy brings a lot of energy to the team. So. Good game from him. Another performer of the game. Before we get to the defense here, Harrison Butker is nails this year. That freaking guy. Dude. We put a tweet out on the Chiefs Kingdom Live X account there, or post. We took back anything negative we may have said about Harrison Butker last year. It's obvious that injury he suffered week 1 against Arizona lingered and affected him throughout the season, because that dude is 100%. He's 100% on field goals. He's 100% on extra points. He has a long of 60 yards. That guy has been locked in. That 60-yarder that he kicked in that Denver game into the wind, it went through the uprights halfway up and hit the net. Into the swirling wind, 60 yards. That thing would have been good from 70 yards.
Maybe, that was a hell of a kick.
Yeah, happy for that guy.
In the stands, right?
Yeah. I thought they had the net, that it went in the net, but maybe went in the stands. I mean, it would have hit the net if the net was there. So
I'm talking about the kickoff, right? Not the field goal.
I got you. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the kickoff. Yeah, he kicked one into the stands. So Butker, guy, has been playing his ass off. Nick, how comfortable are you with Harrison Butker out there on the field right now opposed to last year?
Well, I mean, John C's got it. He's perfect, right? I mean, you can't get better than perfect. The guy has hit every field goal, and that 60 or 61 yarder, I've seen both stats, so I'm not sure exactly how far it was, but was a clutch kick, right? I mean, that's what got us up 16 points. That made it, 2 whole touchdowns. Another sub 20-second drive for a field goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's 3 at 15 seconds or less where we've got the ball and drove down and got a field goal. I mean, that's incredible.
Got a little help from the Broncos on that. They got a penalty there, which kind of moved the ball up. But yeah, still, I mean, they were able to move it.
Still, you get the ball. I mean, most people, when they get the ball with 15 seconds, most teams are kneeling it out and going in for half. Right.
And that was right there. That was right there after the Chiefs had gotten a turnover and with a little over 2 minutes left. And you're thinking, okay, use the clock and get a field goal or maybe even go down and score a touchdown here and really get set. And I want to say they had like a 3 and out and they didn't use hardly any time off the clock. Gave the Broncos the ball back. So, definitely clutch. But,
you can't say enough good things about how he's playing. And, just super clutch. That 60-yarder was an incredible kick. And it looked like he hooked it too much, but the wind just held it. And it went through that left side of the upright. I mean, really, John C. brings it up. Tommy Thunderstruck. We have got to have the best special teams kicking duo, right? You got Harrison Butker kicking 60-plus yard field goals at Arrowhead, open air stadium, multiple times. You got Tommy Townsend, who a few weeks ago on a safety booted it and got a touchback. I think Pat McAfee said it went 80 yards in the air. I mean, you got a guy that can punt a ball 80 yards. I mean, it's just unreal, dude. Unreal special teams talent that we have.
Yeah, it's spoiled with the kicking game right now, and good for Harrison Butker. He took a lot of flack from the fans and last year and his struggles, and to see him come back this year, obviously healthy and making a difference. So, Chiefs defense, we got to talk about them yet again. They won the game for the Chiefs again. I mean, I feel like Chiefs are 5-1, and I mean, probably credit the defense. I mean, outside of the Bears game, it's really been the defense that's kind of carried the water for this team so far. Nick, what stood out to you when watching the defense play against the Broncos on Thursday?
Pass defense. I mean, interceptions. I think it was it Jalen Watson had a fantastic reach in and knockdown.
Yep.
I mean, just perfectly playing the ball. They're getting their heads around, right? They're a menace back there. I mean, they didn't have anybody open. And when he threw the ball, it was, more often than not, it was picked or knocked down. It was incredible, man. It was really incredible. So kudos to that pass defense. Yeah.
They were locked down. They were shutting down the Broncos pass game. The Broncos were kind of gashing the Chiefs in the run game there. A little surprising they didn't maybe go that route a little bit more. But Sean Payton is a kind of a high-flying guy. He, when he was with the Saints and Drew Brees and explosive big play.
$200 million, right?
Right. Big play offense. So, you saw Nick Bolton had a nice play where he dropped back and kind of fooled Russell Wilson into an interception. Had a tip pass there that I want to say Justin Reed came down with an interception. Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims, those guys, they didn't really do anything. They were able to get some pressure on Russell Wilson. It kept him uncomfortable. Chris Jones, another sack. He breaks Derek Thomas's record to start a season for consecutive games with a sack at 5. Derek Thomas had the record at 4. Obviously, Chris Jones missed week 1, so I don't know how you want to if you need to put an asterisk or something on there for that. But he had a sack in his first 5 games to start the season. So they're playing awesome. They're playing really well at all 3 levels. And Drew Tranquil, he was out there playing well. I saw Nick Bolton, he was out there on the field, but he was coming back from an ankle injury. He had missed a few weeks, so maybe the Chiefs were trying to ease him in. I saw Drew in there. Nose always seems the guy has a nose for the ball, right? He always seems to be where the ball's at and where the action is at. So it's kind of disappointing the Chiefs didn't get the shutout. I really feel like they deserved the shutout. Kind of a weak penalty on MVS on that blindside block that killed the drive before that gave the Broncos the ball. And then the lame-ass roughing the passer call on Russell Wilson. Wasn't roughing the passer. I still argue that wasn't a touchdown. The ball was moving when the guy came down in the end zone and touched the white paint. I was like, well, part of his thigh was down. The ball's still moving. Like, hit trapped, like, till he gets his other hand on there. That was right as the elbow was hitting the sideline. Should have been a shutout. And the Broncos, they were no slouch on offense. They were ranked like 16th. I would say there were 2 or 3 spots behind the Chiefs offense going into the game. So are you feeling pretty confident about 6-7 games in here, the Chiefs being able to replicate this defense for the rest of the year?
I mean, the Broncos' problem hadn't been offense, and Russell Wilson had been playing decent, right? He hadn't been playing great. He'd been playing from behind, so some of it may be, stat padding with softer defensive looks,
and playing from behind because their defense is
exactly, passing a lot. But I mean, they'd still been putting up points, and they held them to less than 100 yards and 8 points, less than 10 points. So I think it's fair to say that their numbers may get a little distorted as they play some of these better teams, but they're one of the better units, right? I mean, I think this after this week we'll really kind of understand, because the Chargers are a team that they can score a lot of points, and they can really move the ball times at will. They always seem to find a way to fuck it up at the end and lose, which is fantastic for us to watch. I mean, it's a lot of fun for us to watch them charger it up, but they're a good passing team. Herbert is an elusive quarterback. He's a big dude, but he can move when he needs to, and he can find guys downfield. So I think that I'll feel more comfortable after this week if we can shut down the Chargers offense and saying, okay, this is like a legit unit. But the Lions are good, right? And we gave up 14 points to the Lions. So I mean, the evidence is there. I'm probably just a little more gun shy to sit there and say, yep, they're definitely 100% legit, just because, I'm a Chiefs fan. And so like, I'm used to things kind of falling apart when we think it's good mid-season on defense.
Yeah. And even great defenses, really good defenses, they'll have a game here or there where they get lit up, or the offense puts them in bad positions with short fields or something. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable that this is defense. What you see is what you're going to get this year with them. You mentioned the Lions. They got a potent offense. They've been playing well. They're 5-1. People talk about who's the best 5-1 team right now, and we retweeted the graphic there from Fox Sports NFL. Say, oh, gee, I don't know, maybe the 5-1 team whose loss is to the other team that's on the graphic. All the other teams that had a kind of a bad loss. I think the Lions lost to the Seahawks. 49ers lost to the Browns. The Eagles, they lost to the Jets, who played the Chiefs tough. But so Chiefs are definitely, on all the 5-1 teams, they've got the best loss out of the bunch. But yeah, I feel good about where the defense is at. And like, the super encouraging thing about the defense is if you look at them, Chris Jones is aging, but
everybody else is young.
George Karlaftis, young. Nick Bolton, young. Trent McDuffie, young. Justin Reed, young. Leo Chanel, young. I mean, Brian Cook, young. Like, that defense, they're going to be around for a while.
I think they have the youngest defense in the league, right?
Yeah. If not the youngest, one of the youngest, for sure.
Yeah, so for all the faults that Veach has had in some of his other drafting positions, right? I mean, he's really nailed the defensive picks over the last couple of years. I mean, you look at what we traded Tyreek Hill for and some of the picks that we, who we turned that into, Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, right? I mean, kudos to that scouting staff for really getting some ballers in there. I mean, Nick Bolton is just a tackle machine. The guy is just a tackling machine. So yeah, it's exciting to see because that's like the Tom Brady formula, right? I mean, have a really good defense, and then even if your offense struggles and you may not be able to afford like the top tier talent, like, you only have to score 20 points a game, like you're going to win a lot more games.
Yeah, for sure. What was
It's
it,
much
Patrick
fun to
Mahomes?
watch.
What was
when
it,
you Tyreek Hill.
Patrick Mahomes' first year as a starter, went through and added it up. I'm trying to remember back now, but like in his losses, the offense averaged over 33. It was like 33 or 34 points a game in the losses.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, it's frustrating to me that we have a defense that's playing like they are, and you don't have like a solid number one wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's not like you have like a
frustrating.
star-studded defense that you are paying a lot of money to. It's all young guys that are on rookie deals, right?
Right. So maybe McCole Hardman can come in and provide a spark and be a guy. Rashee Rice, we didn't talk about him much in this game, but 4 catches on 4 targets for 70-something yards, had a clutch catch there in the fourth quarter that basically was in the game-sealing drive there that got him right down there at field goal range. So
almost broke that one for a touchdown.
Almost broke that one for a touchdown. So he didn't have any drops and caught all of his targets, and I'm actually going to play him in fantasy this week with some guys on buys. So Patrick Mahomes is getting a little bit more trust maybe in Rashee Rice, and if the guy can get the drop thing figured out, he's going to be really good. With the win, the Chiefs go to 5-1, and the Chargers loss on Monday Night Football to the Dallas Cowboys. Chiefs have a golden opportunity to really make the rest of the season easier and take a lot of pressure off themselves down the road. Chargers come into town. Nick, overall thoughts? How are you feeling about this game Sunday?
I mean, I'm feeling good. The Chargers not playing super well from what I saw against them against the Cowboys. So I mean, look, they always play us tough. So I don't think we're gonna blow them out or anything, but I do feel like we're gonna be able to take control late and win the game. I was watching that game and the Chargers got the ball at the end, and I just looked over at my wife and I said, "What do you think they're gonna do here?" And she's like, "I don't know." I was like, "Well, Justin Herbert normally folds like a cheap suit in these situations, so let's see what happens." And it was like literally the next play sack, the next play interception, game over. And I was like, "That's what I said." I mean,
yeah. I mean, they went from 1st and 5 on a penalty to 3rd and 11 interception.
Yeah, it was just crazy to see it. There were some comparisons between him and Phillip Rivers, and Phillip Rivers' last 54 games and his first 54 games, because they had the same amount, and they're both exactly 500 with almost exactly the same stats. And it's weird. It's weird that it's like he's Phillip Rivers Jr. But I just until he can turn that around in some fashion, like I'm always going to feel good about our odds because he can play well, but can he close out a game when he has to? And against us, he hasn't been able to do it. And Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes have, right? I mean, we've got that duo taking the field. We got a Menahue back. I think they're going to be terrorizing that offensive line. We've got, the secondary now is not the young secondary we had last year. They're playing really well. So I feel really confident about this game.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Talking about Justin Herbert, I think I texted you. It was a drive before he threw the interception. I said, interception incoming. I can't remember where I heard it, but here in the last couple of days, I heard someone say that since he's entered the league, he has like 14 interceptions in the fourth quarter of one-score games, which is like 6 or 8 more than the next closest quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great fantasy football player, and if you got him on your fantasy team, he'll throw for a lot of yards and he'll throw for points, but he just don't have that clutch gene, right? That you see some of these other guys seem to have. So, Chiefs defense has been playing good. I saw John C's asking for a weather report.
Yeah,
It's
it's
way too
gonna be
early to even try to get a weather report because it will
cloudy in the
change
60s.
37 times between now and Sunday. When I looked yesterday, I saw that it was supposed to be 75 and sunny with a little bit of wind. But hell, that probably changed 10 minutes after I looked at it on the phone there. So, I feel good about this game. The Chargers, they seem to play us tough, and the games are close, and we always find a way to pull it out in the end. They did beat us in Arrowhead. Was that 2 seasons ago? And that game, they're capable of beating us. They're maybe like a little bit of that wounded animal, cornered mentality, which kind of scares you maybe a little bit. They got playmakers on offense. Keenan Allen is a fine wide receiver. He's getting a little bit old, and he's had injuries in his career, but when he's on the field, he's someone you have to account for and can make big plays. Austin Eckler, coming back from injury, did not look very good against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys got a solid defense, especially against the run. They're really good. Not to say the Chiefs aren't good, but the way the Chiefs were getting kind of gashed and the Broncos kind of had a little bit of a formula for running the ball on them. Wonder if that's something the Chargers look at and see and try to exploit, maybe say, let's run the ball on these guys. But I feel comfortable. I think the Chiefs are going to win the game. What do you think is the key for the Chiefs on Sunday? Is it offense needs to get going and score some more points? Is it defense maybe shutting down the run or getting some pressure on Herbert, force him into mistakes? What do you think?
I think it's going to be, can the offense just score enough points, right? I think the defense is going to hold them to not a crazy amount. I don't expect the Chargers to be putting up 30 points on us. So can the offense click enough and execute in the red zone enough to get points, or are we going to be sitting there, talking Harrison Butker MVP of the game again, right? That's the difference. If we're going to be kicking 4 or 5 field goals, scoring 1 touchdown, I think it's going to be a difficult game for us to win, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, let's get Mecole back in here. Let's see if he can, find the end zone, maybe give him a little spark there around the goal line that they don't have. Travis Kelce, Charger killer, right? He just eats up our division opponents, dude. So, I think that's going to be the key to the game, right? Can we get enough out of our other receivers? Is Travis Kelce going to continue his domination, which I feel pretty confident about?
Yeah, I think it's going to be up to the Chiefs offense to exploit a suspect Chargers defense.
Yep.
I think the Chiefs are going to need to score. I think the Chargers can score into the 20s, even with the Chiefs defense playing as good as it is. I think that's going to be key. And giving Patrick Mahomes protection, Khalil Mack, he's had like 6 or 8 sacks in the last 2 games or something like that, because he had the 6-sack performance the week before, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that guy's been a problem for offensive lines. So keep Patrick upright, and the offense is going to have to get right. You can't sit there and kick field goals and go for fake field goals and not get first downs and turn the ball over and not convert 3rd and 1s. Chargers are a better opponent than the Broncos. I know their record's 2-3, but as we've seen before, they're capable of hanging with the Chiefs, and the games are always close. So, I think that's the key, is protect Patrick Mahomes, and the offense has got to kind of get some things figured out and get some stuff going. It's going to take some points. I don't see them beating the Chargers 19-8 on Sunday.
What's your score prediction?
Score prediction. I'm going to go 27-23.
I was going to say, I was going 27-21.
Well, you can still go 27-21.
Yeah, 27-21. That's what I'm picking.
Great minds think alike. Be interested to see what everybody in the chat thinks as they want to throw their score predictions up for Chiefs Chargers on Sunday. The Justin Herbert thing to me is just the guy is. I don't like. Do you think he ever figures it out?
I don't know, man.
Think he becomes clutch at some point?
Can you? Is that like a thing that you can develop?
I don't know.
I mean, that was kind of like always what people said about Tony Romo, right? Where it's like, well, he's good, but like he always kind of blows it when it matters the most.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like a nerves thing, right? I mean, it's got to be nerves, right? It's got to be you get in that position and you either panic or I don't know. It's like Mahomes, whatever Justin Herbert doesn't have, like like when they're dosing it out, like they gave like Mahomes everything that Herbert didn't get, because Mahomes seems to have like that like in abundance, right? And when it matters the most, him and Travis Kelce both, when it matters the most is when they are the most on, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're clutch.
Like if he didn't play for the Chargers, I'd feel worse for him, right? I mean, because like he seems like a good dude, and he's like super talented. He's a tough guy. He played last season with cracked ribs. He's playing right now with a broken finger on his non-throwing hand, right? I mean, he's a tough.
He was a guy that played really well at Oregon and kind of got looked over for some other quarterbacks in the draft that haven't played nearly as well or put up near the numbers that he has. 100%. So, yeah. Our man Tom is up in the house. Good to see you, Tom. Hope you're doing good down there in the tropics, man. Starting to get cold here in the mornings. I'm not looking forward to the cold weather, so I'm going to be jealous of Tom here in the not too distant future. So, looks like John C. He's a little bit more confident than maybe some of the rest of us are. Brenda's 24-21. I expect it to be a good close game, but the Chiefs are going to win this game. And if they do, that puts the Chargers at what, 2-4?
Yeah.
The Chiefs moves to 6-1. They'd be 3 games up with the tiebreaker over them. The Raiders are at 3-3 with a couple of wins back to back here, but those are against crappy teams. I don't think the Raiders are a real threat in the division. And we were laughing last year when the Chiefs beat the Chargers. So, man, they got this division wrapped up by Thanksgiving. Well, this year they might have the division wrapped up by Halloween, which would be a good feeling, and maybe help my blood pressure and maybe add some years to the end of my life here. How many Chiefs fatheads do I own? Our man JT's checking in from the Carolinas. Good to see you, bro. Always appreciate you swinging by.
He has all of them.
I got 3. So I'm disappointed our man JT's Panthers. I thought they were going to be better this year.
Sorry, JT. That sucks, dude.
I think if you go back to our like season kickoff show where we predicted the winners of the divisions, I think I picked his Panthers to win the division, and they haven't won a game. I wasn't pandering to our man JT. I honestly thought they were going to be better. The way they played towards the end of last year, and then the quarterback that they got in the draft, really thought that they were going to be playing better. But who knows? Maybe they can turn things around. They play in the NFC, so.
Do you think I could use AI to go back and edit that video so it says that I don't pick the Panthers to win the division?
I don't know. Probably. You can always just delete the video off YouTube too. I mean, you always have that option, but
the internet never forgets, man. It's there forever.
Yeah. Our man John C. Hey, if you're ever in KC, bro, hit me up, John. We'll play a couple games of pool for sure. I got you. Some other games going on. I think John was asking us about Eagles Dolphins this week. I think the Dolphins are gonna kick the Eagles' ass personally. The Eagles have not looked dominant to me. Jalen Hurts looks like maybe he's come down to earth a little bit after last year's run and into the playoffs. They squeaked one out against Washington the week before, then they lose to the Jets last week. Their defense has been a little bit suspect this year. They can be had, especially through the air. Nick, what do you think? Dolphins, Eagles?
Yeah, I don't know. I just it's weird because the Dolphins also lost by 28 points to the Bills, who also the Bills are, they're that roller coaster team. So I guess maybe they just caught the Bills on a good week. But yeah, it sure feels like the AFC is just stronger, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
Can you sit there and say that the Eagles are going to lose to the Jets, but then they're going to beat the Dolphins, who, I mean, are a markedly better team in the same division? So it's tough. But I mean, the Eagles have been there and they have experience on their team, and that, the Dolphins, they have Tyreek Hill, but other than that, they don't have a lot of that experience. And so I think it'll be closer, right? I don't think that it's going to be a blowout, but yeah, I would give the edge to the Dolphins in this one.
Yeah, John, definitely better for the Eagles to win. I'll be rooting for the Eagles to win that game. I just don't think they're going to.
The Eagles are a little bit, tougher of a team, and you just wonder if they can beat up some of those speed guys. But I mean, Tyreek Hill, didn't they say he's almost at 1,000 yards this year, and it's only 6 games in?
Yeah, no, he's on pace to have more yards and touchdowns than all the Chiefs wide receivers combined. I mean, that dude is he's on fire this year.
Do you think he's better than he was when he was in Kansas City now? Or do you think that they're just using it?
I think he's about the same.
Yeah.
You go back some of the years he had in Kansas City, 1,500 yards receiving, 10, 11, 12 touchdowns. Yeah, I think he was at
2,400 yards now, right? It's just because they're throwing him the ball more because
he
doesn't have to play with Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Jalen Waddle, and they've got a heck of a running game there, which maybe helps him out. Outside of the year that we had Kareem Hunt, we never really had that much of a running game with Tyreek, so teams were able to play that really deep, too high safety coverage stuff to try to eliminate the big plays for him. But I don't think he's better than he's been. He's always been really, really, really good. So their run game, Raheem Mostert's one of the best running backs in the league. Now that they're stacked on offense, I'm not sold on Tua.
Wasn't NyQuil. It was, non-alcoholic beer, JT.
There you go. Might as well be NyQuil. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be rooting for the Eagles. I want the Eagles to win that game, help the Chiefs out. But I think Miami takes it to the Eagles.
You don't think it's going to be close?
No. I think the Dolphins probably win that game 30-20, 30-17, something like that. Although I guess the Dolphins defense ain't all that great, so maybe it's 30-27. Maybe it's one of those type games.
Yeah.
But
they remind me a lot of the 2018 Chiefs, right?
Yeah. A lot of offense, no defense. JT, maybe he's drinking out there. You drinking moonshine out there in the Carolinas, JT? Is that what maybe you're sipping on there? But I'm looking forward to this game. I might head out there Sunday, watch the Chargers game, waiting to see if someone can go with me or not. But looking forward to it. Chiefs can wrap it up. I don't know if anybody got any questions or anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here, but
yes. What did you think about the viral chick from the Chargers game? You hate that. You hate those types of stories, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems staged almost, and then she's also a Vikings fan or something, which I don't really quite understand. But it was hilarious. Watching the game, she was like, she was shaking her hands. She had the weird thing where her arms looked like they were bent the wrong way when she was putting her arms up.
Yeah. Well, she's
So I
got
don't
like the hyperextended elbow thing.
Right.
Yeah, no, I just think about how weird that would be if that was like us, because I mean we get super into the games, and then if like all of a sudden you're reading on the internet that you're a paid actor, so that people were saying that she's a plant, people were saying that she's a robot. I mean, I don't know. I just it's kind of a weird story to pop up, and then just the internet made it weirder, right? I mean, I just saw her on TV. I was like, oh, that lady's going to be a meme. She's probably not going to like that too much. And then she's like on Pat McAfee the next day. You know?
Yeah. John's asking where I sit. 304 row 9 up in the upper section, about the 10 or 15 yard line on the visitor's side. So, yeah, she was on McAfee, and she's had her 15 minutes of fame. And, there's funny jokes. It was like, check out this, the biggest Chargers fan. It was like, you could take out biggest. Like, it's just, look, this is the Chargers fan because they don't have any fans.
Right.
And all of their games seem like they're like away games when you listen to them on TV, the way the crowd reacts. So,
yeah. I was, what other game? There's another game I was watching that based on the crowd reactions, I was like, man, it must be like all away fans. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, it's wild. It's funny that their team is just like so much of a non-factor that people are like, yeah, well, they obviously had to pay somebody to go there and act like they like.
Right.
It's just funny. It couldn't be a real person.
Yeah. It's just football. The NFL in LA just doesn't like resonate for whatever reason. Even the Rams, I mean, a lot of their games are like away games, sound like. And when they had their Super Bowl parade, like there was like huge gaps like along the route where there's just like nobody. Like, you watch the Chiefs and some of these other Super Bowl parades, and it's like 20 deep the entire parade route, and people sitting on top of buildings. And then you show the Rams Super Bowl parade, and it looked like your local Snake Saturday parade or some shit. Like there was hardly anybody there to celebrate a Super Bowl. So, hey, no problem, John C. Glad you're able to you got your stickers. Got some out to Brenda as well. I think she sent us a message that she received those. So you're welcome. We appreciate all the support from the very beginning. John C. and Brenda and Laney. Some of the OGs of CKL here, no doubt. So
yeah, if you're one of our regular listeners and you want one of these, we've got a few of these stickers, right? Just email us. I think it's chiefskingdomlive@gmail.com, and just send us your address, and we can mail you a sticker, so you can rep your favorite Chiefs podcast.
Yeah. And we're still trying to get to 500 subscribers for the giveaway. We got a lot of cool shit that we're going to be giving away. Some Super Bowl jerseys, and
we better get to 500. My wife is going to be pissed. I spent a lot of money on that stuff.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get there. So if you're watching, anybody that's a Chiefs fan, tell them. I mean, hell, if you see them next time, take their phone and subscribe when they're not paying attention. If they don't have a passcode or something, I mean, you're doing them a solid because you're getting them in on the contest if you tell them to subscribe. So, but yeah, we definitely appreciate everybody who joins us every week and everybody who follows us and supports us on Twitter and on Bo. I know does the Facebook and the Instagram, and we're growing there. And we've been getting a lot of followers and starting to get a lot of traction on X, which is nice, making some new friends. And there we go. Race car, good to see you. Appreciate you stopping in there. She's got her sticker on the mug there. John C.
On his race helmet.
There you go. Nice. I feel honored now. That's a special thing for motocross, for a race car or motorcycle
world champion,
right? Is their helmet. So definitely appreciate you repping CKL out there in Colorado. Definitely appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We'll be back next Wednesday, hopefully with Bo in tow here, talking about the Chiefs-Chargers game at Arrowhead and looking ahead to the next
special announcement too, right?
What's that?
We'll have an extra special announcement too when Bo's back.
Yeah, when Bo's back, we're going to have a special announcement. So, again, if you haven't clicked like, if you haven't clicked subscribe, Do that now. Tell some friends and family. Help spread the word. And until next Wednesday, let's go Chiefs.
Let's go Chiefs.